Welcome to Lanterns Live. I am Ralph. I am joined by Will Smith, and we are here to talk about Green Lantern number 19 by Jeremy Adams and Fernando Pasarin. And boy, oh boy, am I excited.
It's been a good week for Lantern fans for sure.
Yeah, do you want to? You're where I get most of my Green Lantern news from. Is there any news you want to talk about? Like, I'm excited about the fact that Lantern's cameras are rolling. I guess they're doing screen tests. You mentioned that.
Yep.
What kind of stuff's going on?
Yeah, so it looks like Garrett Dillahunt, who's playing William Macon, who people are hoping will be William Hand, he posted some pictures on his Instagram yesterday that showed that they are doing their camera touch. Porna Jagged Nathan had said that they were going to do in one of her interviews with Collider. And there were some director's chairs, and it had Garrett, I think it had Porna, and then it had Kyle Chandler there. Aaron Pierre's name was not on those seats, so it seems like this camera testing is without him, which is like leading people to speculate that maybe William Macon has more of a role with Hal Jordan than he does with John Stewart.
If this story surrounds the Heartland sort of crime thing that they're going for, maybe that's like the main story, and maybe we get some sort of flashback to when Kyle Chandler was younger, and so we're dealing with those guys.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's definitely possible. Also, in her interview with Collider, the description that they had for the show said that this like small town was now awash with superheroed or superpowered beings. So I know that there's been like a big, this is going to be grounded and it's terrestrial based. How much? It sounds like there's going to be a lot of powered folks around the area too. So it's not going to be like no CGI, no powers. Like we're getting it. And with the team that's behind it, I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty stacked. I'm really excited.
Cool. There's some stuff I'm really excited about with this issue of Green Lantern that's making me excited for the there goes a helicopter again. This is a big one this time.
We don't hear it at all.
There's something in this issue, and it starts off right away that I want to talk about. It's getting closer. They heard we're talking about leaks.
That's DC sending them out for you.
Okay, so right off the bat, so where we left off last time was essentially tying up sort of the loose ends of what Jeremy Adams was handed to him, like all of that stuff. It felt like it was wrapped up in a nice little bow. He made it through all the crossovers. He made it through all the Jeffrey Thorne stuff, and he's wrapped it all up. And then he starts this issue with this image of the Justice League fighting a giant monster, which 100% looks like an homage to Justice League #1, the Silver Age with Starro. Like that's the vibes I'm getting. And I feel like it's Jeremy Adams' way of saying, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of my Green Lantern run. We got through all the stuff that needed to get gotten through, and here we go. So we're
all
starting
the tie-ins in the past.
Like, isn't that? I think that's like this image looks like the Justice League, the Silver Age Justice League. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's what this is saying, and I couldn't be more excited. Also, another thing that got me excited is we see stuff like this all the time in DC Comics, giant monsters.
Yep.
And the Justice League fighting giant monsters, DC superheroes fighting giant monsters. But it's not something we've seen in movies until the Suicide Squad. James Gunn's Suicide Squad had giant Starro kaiju coming and attacking. And then we know we're getting something very similar to this guy in Superman. And so I'm like, okay, what I love about this issue is that we get cameos by the Justice League, including Starfire, and we get Black Lightning, like characters you like kind of like second tier or third tier characters.
Mm-hmm.
Characters that really only DC fans know of. And watching the trailer to James Gunn's movie seeing Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl, even if they show up in this capacity, like they're only in like one scene, that feels so much more like DC Comics than anything we've seen before.
I agree.
Uh, uh, so, dude, like this book, this is specifically this issue got me pumped up for the DCU. Like it like reminded me what DC is. Like characters can come and go quickly. If Guy Gardner's barely in the movie, it feels like a DC book.
I think that that's
And I love it.
okay. I think
Yeah.
when you think about how a lot of comics are in general, unless it's just straight up like a crossover series, a lot of times you do just have like Wally will show up or Barry or Ollie. One of them will just show up. They'll
Yeah.
be there for 4 or 5 pages in a comic, and then they're gone. They're back to their own story, and then the Green Lantern we're following goes back to theirs. They usually don't hang around for the
Right.
whole period of time. So yeah, I
So
mean, if they have heroes like pop in and then not be around too much, but it's enough of a role to get them on screen in front of people, make them Googling like who is Guy Gardner, like the masses. I think that's a massive win.
Yeah, and I think that's why they're showcased in the trailer, is so that people can get to know that ahead of time. I don't think they're going to play a massive role in the movie. I really don't, but it'll get people acclimated and familiar, and anybody who doesn't know who they are ahead of time can look it up. Perfect. So yeah, this one image, I literally opened up the book and I'm like, oh boy, like this is DC, and the monster looks like the monster from the trailer of Superman. There was something else in here that also got me excited. Let me pop this one up. It's this construct that Carol makes.
Yeah.
With the net with the spikes going in the ground. That's used in the 2011 movie when the Green Lantern Corps fighting Parallax on I don't know what planet they were on, some random planet where they like killed off like 3 major lanterns from the comic. But I was like, that's kind of funny. It's kind of funny that he's using imagery from the movie.
I feel like Jeremy just does a great job of, while trying to make something fresh and feel new, he goes back and he'll constantly pull one little thing from here that we knew in the past, a movie, the animated series. Like he's done a really good job incorporating that stuff and not just making it, look bad or look like they're just rehashing because they don't have any other ideas. I think Carol doing this is really cool, especially with the team up it causes between her and Hal.
Right.
The first few pages of this comic I just really like because it's showing her growth inside the Justice League with this thing that everybody is struggling with and how everybody's doing their own part and how they're communicating, and she's trying to do her own thing, and while doing that she's like watching everybody so she can learn more how to be a hero, and it's just great development for her.
And what's great too is like we know Kyle Rayner's struggles when he first got the ring, and how he, couldn't live up to Hal or whatever it was. He didn't feel like he was worthy of it. He had all kinds of stuff going on inside of him where it was full of doubt. Jessica Cruz, same thing. She had her anxiety and she was like agoraphobe. Is that the right one? She wouldn't go outside. She didn't want to be seen out in public. She wanted to stay inside. And that was her whole thing, was this inner struggle. What I love about this Carol story is that she's so excited to be Star Sapphire. Like she wants to be Star Sapphire. She wants to learn. She's willing to learn. She, as much as she loves Hal and wants to go hang out with Hal, she's like, I'm really learning a lot just hanging out and watching the Justice League work. I, a couple years ago, took up photography, and I love going out on photo walks with other photographers. I don't have to bug them with questions, but I could watch their process and learn so much just through that. And so it stuck with me. I was like, here's like, how often do you see a hero that's just like not reluctant? Like, I feel like superheroes, they give them like some sort of inner turmoil to make the character interesting. Whereas I find this, more interesting because I'm like, if I got a Green Lantern ring or a Star Sapphire ring or whatever,
Mhm.
I would be so excited to like go and try things out and go. Like, you telling me I get to hang out with Batman and Superman and Starfire and all these guys, and not, like, they're not keeping her down. It's not like they have a past, like and it's mentioned in this is Batman and Hal have kind of a headbutting past,
Yeah.
but it's not that. It's she's accepted, and you can tell she's like trying. I don't know how they, if they just pull that off with the dialogue or the art, but I just love seeing Carol in all of these fights, because she is included. She may not be doing like the craziest stuff, and she's still figuring out constructs, but but she's getting it down, and I really like it. And the fact that she's the one that sort of is able to contain this thing. Meanwhile, Aquaman's not, not here, and they're asking about Aquaman taking care of the sea creature. I do love that she's like really like putting her back into it, and like she's like, I have enough power to contain this thing, and she does it. Um, and I think it's a lot of fun seeing someone that's excited with the power they're given. I know
Yeah.
it's still a responsibility, but it's still rad. Like, you don't like, dude, if you got like any lantern ring for reals, how stoked would you be? And you
Oh,
never see that. These
I-
guys get their rings and they're like, oh no, I can't take on this responsibility. Or just like, dude, like, she's having a blast. Like, I love that. I love it so much.
and where else can you, especially because she's early into her Justice League run here, what such a good opportunity for her to be able to utilize the ring as much as she possibly can and try new things and see what works on
Yeah,
this kaiju type creature. You know, if you're just stopping crime in Hub City or whatever, and it's just local
right.
stuff, you're not really getting to use any sort of real power, or
Yeah,
not to the extent you could. You've got this opportunity here,
it's like
and
exercise.
I think Jeremy did an excellent job writing her in this issue.
Yeah,
We still get that, Carol and Hal moment, but
yeah.
later in the comic, she has a decision to make where Hal's like, "Come join me and do this thing." And to her credit, she's like, "I'll be there if you need me, but
Mhm.
I want to go be here. I want to train. I want to learn. I want to grow as part of this team and see how to do it." And she makes her own decision to do her own thing. I just think that's really well written.
And it sounds like she knows that she'll be able to visit Hal, like go help Hal at like the drop of the hat. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking that Jeremy Adams is bringing the feature from the sort of power from the animated series,
Yeah.
where the Star Sapphire could teleport to the person they love.
Yes.
Like, it
Yeah.
sounds like they're like, boom, if you need me, I'm there. Even though they're on the other side of the galaxy or even the universe.
I
It's
mean,
so
based on how that conversation went in the comic, it definitely feels like that's an ability she'll have access to, and
yeah,
she already knows it, and he knows it as well.
yeah.
And that's
Um
that's
uh,
not the only fast travel in this issue,
right.
e especially as you're talking about the animated series. There's another fast traveling ship, the
Yeah.
Interceptor.
The Interceptor shows up. Okay, so I have an issue with this,
Yeah, here we go.
and it might rub you the wrong way as well. This isn't the first time we've seen the Interceptor in comics. It's showed up a couple times as like Easter eggs,
Mhm.
and every single time they draw the Interceptor, they have it flying backwards, and it looks like, I looked really close, and I'm like, how? I'm like, this looks like it's flying backwards. Did you notice that it
I didn't.
feels like it's flying backwards?
I just started scrolling back through it just to see, but yeah.
It it okay, it drives me nuts. Couple things. So there's this shot there. Let me bring this up. So there's this shot, right? It's flying, and there's a word bubble coming out of the warp coil area. And I want to say that either the letterer I think the editor or the letterer thought that's where the cockpit is. It's definitely not. The cockpit's up here. So I don't know if they. It's so hard. Listen, I don't get nerdy about a lot of stuff, and I'm like, okay, it's just clearly a mistake. But like this shot here, let me see if you can see that shot. Like it looks like it's coming towards us, not away from us.
Yeah.
Did you? What were your thoughts on that? Did you notice it right away?
No, I just nerded out that the fact that the Interceptor was in there, and
Yeah,
my younger me, who really loved the animated
I
series,
love
got
the
to
animated
see
series.
this thing. You know, I am a sucker for some nostalgia bait sometimes, and the
Yeah,
Interceptor and the conversation around we don't have our AI on the ship that we used to have, talking about Aya. I thought that was a really cool reference as well. I was just like nerding out over that stuff.
uh, I mean, she may be out with Razor. Razor was introduced in this. We've got Kilowog.
Hmm.
She's the only one missing from the animated series. So maybe we can get her in the future. Maybe the next time we see Razor, she'll be with him.
Yep, and razors are green now.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I'm just like, I was so excited to see it, and I was like, oh, I think they're going in the back. I think it's backwards, and I don't know. Like, listen, I'm not the kind of nerd that's gonna be like, this ruins everything. Like, it's fine, but like I've seen it in the comics like more than once, and it's like, guys, the Interceptor faces the other way.
Maybe it'll
Please,
get fixed in the next issue.
maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like Jeremy Adams is writing so many books that he probably doesn't spend too much time on the editorial of these things.
I mean, yeah, that's probably somebody else's job.
Yeah. But I feel like there's got to be a style sheet out there of the Interceptor, or just pop on the pilot episode, just watch it fly, just so because you can pretty much immediately see where the cockpit is and stuff. So minor gripe. It's a minor gripe. I know it's a minor gripe, but at the same time, it's like
But it's
whenever
still
they
a
make
gripe.
Green Lantern's boots white, or there's no
Yeah.
ring, like the ring isn't on the finger and stuff, or the wrong finger. Oh my gosh. It's there's just like those three things are the three things that just drive me nuts. Ring on the wrong finger, white boots on Hal, and the Interceptor flying backwards.
So now we've covered like teleportation.
Yeah.
We've covered
Warp
fast
core.
travel
Yeah.
through a ship. And then this issue also has a time bandit.
Right. Now, is this a new character? I'm not familiar with Odyssey, the Time Bandit.
I I don't know much about her, but I had definitely read something else that she was in, so I don't think she's
Okay.
completely new.
Okay.
But I don't think she's had a big run anywhere or anything like
Right.
that. Um,
I
I
didn't
think the
mean I
gist of her character is she goes back through time, stealing cool like artifacts and objects, and kind of like
yeah.
makes them her own. And from her and Kyle's conversation, obviously there's another one that's like her who does it that she wouldn't be happy to see if he showed up.
Yeah. I was gonna look her up, but I forgot. Uh, because she has a very specific, almost like a gem in the holograms design. So I don't know if she's from the 80s. I don't know if she's like probably a really deep cut. But again, I was already on board with like I was like already in my brain thinking like James Gunn is doing this. James Gunn is bringing, you know, deep cut characters and just sprinkling them in the DC universe, definitely in Superman. Um, and so when I saw her, I was like, I don't know who this is, but I'm kind of glad it's not like a crazy cameo where it's like Boudica or something, you know, like it's not
Yeah,
someone like where it's like, oh, here we go. No, it's like totally, it was set up as a mystery who this person is. And then the reveal was this. And I'm just like, great.
I think she's in one of the crossover issues previously, either one of the other all-in issues where there was a crossover. Um, maybe I think there was like a room where a whole bunch of stuff was being held and things had gone missing already, and
Mm.
they were talking about how there's characters that can travel through time that they might have thought it would be. So I think
Yeah.
she's popped up in one of the other. I don't think it was Fractured Spectrum #1. I think it was something before that she was in.
Mhm. Well, she's not annoying, which is great. She looks pretty cool,
She does
and
look cool.
I like the fact that like she broke out of her science cell within a really small window. The
Yep.
margin was so small. So clearly she knew that event was going to happen where she had the 0.2 seconds to do whatever she needed to do to get out of the science cell. She immediately goes and starts raiding the armory
Yeah.
of the Green Lantern Corps and just going for all these weapons. And then Kyle shows up, and what you would normally expect to be like a big fight, it's like, no. Kyle's like, oh, you're really special. You know stuff. You
Yes.
have abilities. You can go back to stealing or whatever, and we'll just capture you again. And we'll just capture you again and throw you right back in the science cell. And we could just do this all day. Or we can use your abilities to come help us, on this mission, which I love the compassion of Kyle. I feel like of all
Yes.
the lanterns, Kyle's the most compassionate. Um, did I notice this last month, or is this something I'm only noticing in this issue? But he's got the classic Kyle
Mhm.
emblem. It was last month. Was it on there last month?
No. I think last month. I don't think it was this last month. I think a month ago he was being White Lantern Kyle.
Right. Right.
And now he's back to green. And
Yes.
yeah, it does look different.
It's the classic. It's the
Yeah.
classic Kyle emblem, which I have a tattoo of.
I think that introducing this character, I think they did a really good job of helping prop Kyle up. I think that this interaction between Kyle and her was great on his end. Like, it's cool introduction for us in the comic to her,
Yeah.
but the ease in which he was able to restrain her, he didn't break a sweat on it. I really
Just
don't think she
standing
was
there.
also interested in like killing him. I think she just wanted to be able to get away, so that might have
Yeah.
played into it too. But he's able to catch her off guard. She's obviously very intelligent. One of her abilities is being a time bandit, so she can, travel. She has to be quick on her feet, yet Kyle was still able to sneak up on her. No matter what attack she was trying to do, he brushed aside easily, got her pinned up against the wall like 2 more times. I just think everything about this is just a cool, like, nod to Kyle. Like, everything in here makes him look like a good Green Lantern. And like you
Yeah.
said, it's his compassion where maybe if this was Guy, by the second time she swung at him, he'd be trying to fight her. If it's Hal, maybe it's handled a different way. Same thing with John. But because it's
Yeah.
Kyle, he's like, no matter how many times you're trying to fight me, I'm just telling you, I don't want to fight you. I just
Like
want to talk.
Neo,
Just hear me out. And then if you don't like what I have to say,
we'll
we can
put you
go
back
do
in the
the
science
yeah,
cell.
exactly. We can do the whole pony song and dance. But I'd prefer for you to just hear me. And if you like what I have to say, come follow me as we go to do this other thing.
And this whole interaction is on one page.
Yeah.
It's
We've talked
that
about this before,
conversation's
but
over with the next page, and it barely starts the
yeah,
previous page.
Jeremy's
Again,
done an excellent job with that.
Jeremy Allen's like writing, it's so precise, and I love that it can do it in a really concise and simple way. Yeah, this also reminds me of Green Lantern, the animated series, in the mid-season finale when Hal finally confronts Atrocitus at the Guardians in the Guardians like headquarters. You expect like, oh, here comes the big brawl,
Yeah.
and Hal instead says, you know what, you're right. The Guardians do deserve this. The Guardians messed up.
Mhm.
Let's talk about it. And then it's, he has compassion. Of course, Atrocitus wants nothing to do with it because he's filled with rage, and they get into a fight anyway. But I like when Green Lanterns are like compassionate, and they're like, listen, I've got the most powerful weapon in the universe.
Yep.
The reason I was chosen is because I'm a good person. And it's better for a space cop to be like, hey, listen, let's talk this out, because yes, I have all the power, but I'm not someone that abuses that power.
Yeah.
And it's like so perfect. Like, I don't know how Jeremy Adams does this. I don't know how he has it's Kyle. This is Kyle. I don't know the last time I've seen Kyle written this well. And again, it's one page.
And then on the next page, they go looking for somebody. We don't know who it is at the time.
Yes,
They
in
stumble
Australia.
upon two regular guys in Australia. They sneak up on them because they're looking down this, like, not a tunnel, but like something has crashed down into the earth and made a hole.
Yeah.
And they're looking down, and this is when Odyssey and Kyle show up behind them. And the moment they speak, they're startled. The guys are on the ground, and they're like, "We're going to tell everybody about this. Actually, nobody will believe us, so there's no point in us like sharing this with anybody." And Kyle's like, "Look, we were just here to look for our friend, and that's what we're here to do." And then bursting out of the ground.
Yeah.
It's not just rocks, it's like tons of water comes rushing up.
Yeah.
And
like
it's
a geyser.
Yes, exactly. He's kind of posing like a model. I thought that was like a weird, like if you if you got thrown down into the earth and you came bursting out of it, I would be having like this model moment.
But what's fun though is there's this the water's coming down and these guys are kind of like celebrating, almost like he's like creating a well,
something,
or irrigating this like desert. But yeah, dude, this is hilarious to me. This is so hilarious to me, and it's fine. I mean, when I turned the page, I laughed.
Yeah, it's very comic booky.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. What I like is I think it's the next page. You have Kyle and Odyssey are standing near each other, and Connor's there. And as the water's coming down, it's these little things. Kyle makes an umbrella, to shield him and her from the water. It's just like little, like, it's a cute comic book moment that I really enjoy. It's a lantern using his power for something very, very small, but it's like smart at the same time. You know, Kyle's thinking on his feet really quickly. Like, I just enjoyed the whole scene.
Yeah, I love that Connor is hitting on Odyssey.
Yeah.
And Kyle apologizes about that situation. And she's like, "No, I like it."
Yeah, she was definitely into it too.
Yeah. Again, like another, it's like this scene is 3 pages. Of course, one is the splash page, but storytelling, it just goes and goes and goes. I don't know how many pages these are, but it's definitely it definitely moves, and you get a lot of story in this. We get the Interceptor again. Yeah, this is where we get the Interceptor.
Yeah. This comic book as a whole, it's one of the first like, usually when the comic drops, I read it at midnight before I go to bed. Then when I wake up, I get settled into my workday and my computer behind me, send out my morning emails, do my follow-up reports, and then I pick my phone back up and I go back and I read the comic again a second time. And then I go to the Green Lantern subreddit, and they always have sticky. Whatever the new comic is, it'll be sticky at the top. And it's just a discussion thread for people to talk about it so they don't spoil it in other threads for people.
Right.
And one of the comments that I read was something along the lines of, this feels like the first issue that Jeremy Adams has been given where he knew he doesn't have to plug anything else. Yeah. He doesn't have to build or work towards any other story other than the ones that it's connecting to that he is also writing. And it just feels like the flow from page 1 to whatever the end page is the best. 19 issues in, I think this issue flows the best out of all 19 so far.
I feel like he's been waiting. He's been waiting to get to this point, to get through all the crossovers, to get through those the Jeffrey Thorne stuff, which I still I haven't finished reading. I talked about this last week, the War Journal stuff, kind of going off of the Jeffrey Thorne stuff. And it's just like, this one just feels like that's all in the past now.
Yeah.
It's all in the past now.
There's still a little bit here that if you didn't read, I think Fractured Spectrum #1, Like the whole thing about the Book of Oa might be a
Yeah.
little bit confusing.
Yeah.
But
It's
it's not.
explained well though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just as you read it though, you might have that moment where you're like, "Wow, when did this happen?" But how
Yeah.
it's written, you don't need that. It's nice to know it, but you don't have to have read a previous issue to catch on to what's going here.
Right. Right. This relationship with Carol and Hal um is really nice.
Healthy.
Them saying they love each other, and it's
Mhm.
like, I don't know the last time that's happened. I feel like it's been a while because it's always been such a will they, won't they?
Yes.
And it's like they work well together, but they don't have to be together all the time. Like I'm like on Friday, my wife of 20 plus years, uh, she's gonna be home, and I'm driving up to San Francisco, and it's like, listen, just because couples are couples doesn't mean they always have to be
Correct.
together.
Yep.
And I like that both of them are comfortable with this. Like Hal's not like you would see this in like Archie books where like one person would be jealous of the other person because they're not
Mhm.
around. What are you doing while I'm gone? But they
I
have a
think we've
complete trust.
seen I think we've seen some of that in previous iterations of Harold or Hal and Carol.
Uh-huh.
Um, like I said, I think the way that he wrote this, it gives her characters so much agency. It gives
Yeah.
us the moment that fans do like, which is them being able to say, I love you. They've
Mhm.
spent their time together in this issue, but it's not him telling her he's going to run and go do this other thing and then he'll come back to her. It's her telling him, no, I could join you, but I'm going to go do this other thing because I need to work on me, get my development, learn the ropes, be a better hero.
Yeah.
And then if you are in trouble, if Hal's the one who needs the help, she'll come, come to save
Right.
him. Yeah.
Right.
And he said, remember, if you feel like I'm in trouble, don't think I can. He says to her, don't think I can handle it. And
Yeah.
she's like, I got you. I'll see you soon. Like, it's cool for Hal to admit that too. But also
Yeah.
it's she's the one with the power to be able to go to him if he's in trouble. I
Which
just think all around that was just well written.
I feel like that's sort of fixing something that I had an issue with in the Green Lantern, the animated series, The Love is a Battlefield, where Carol is fighting Atrocitus, which is a monumental task for someone who's, more of a rookie, a less like, advanced ring slinger.
He's not the baddie you want to fight early in your Lantern
No,
career.
especially when you're like in the middle. Doesn't she like come through with like a plate of food? Like she was at a
Yeah.
buffet or something, or is that it was one of those ones? But
Yeah.
anyway, like she was not expecting to fight Atrocitus, and in that episode, she's getting beat up, and Hal has to come save her.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I was really rooting for Carol to just do it herself.
It's very
Um,
tropey.
yeah, and they worked well together in that episode. They end up, but it's mostly Hal saving her. So with this, I like the fact that they're on even ground. Hey, if you're in trouble, I help you. If you're in trouble, you help me. And I really, really like this relationship. It never really sat well with me in Green Lantern New Guardians when it was like a lot of Kyle and Carol together. Because I'm like, it's a comic book. Are we supposed to think they're gonna get together? And that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
weird. That's really weird because Kyle was like always looked up to Hal and always wanted to prove himself to be as good as Hal. And
Yes.
now you're with Carol is strange.
It feels weird.
I'm glad that's in the past. I like where this is going. Um, I'm hoping Jeremy Adams isn't setting something up where this relationship, something bad happens with Carol. I'm just hoping they're okay.
I think
I
they're
don't need.
okay. I think he's got a good grasp on this.
Yeah. We get back to Nate.
Yeah, this was kind of like a big deal. Like Nate shows up, he's on his hands and knees, and we're finally seeing that Nate is not the brains of this operation. He's not. I think
Yeah.
Nate doesn't want to be the Sorrow Lantern. He doesn't want to be doing what he's doing, but he's being commanded by somebody else who
Yeah.
has more power than him, who's also made a deal with Nate to give Nate what he wants in exchange for helping him achieve what he wants,
And
which
this
ultimately was opening up like a star portal in the sky and having all these other characters of different colors come pouring in.
Yeah.
And that's when he announces that yes, there's like a sorrow lantern, but
Yeah.
now we have the Starbreaker core, which is
Yeah.
another like a fractured spectrum type core where it's not one of the main ones or the normal ones. This is only available now because the spectrum is fractured and split the way it currently is.
And the way they're pouring into this room looks like that's a nice spot for them to be able to build a power battery.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that, but absolutely.
Yeah, because they mentioned it in the book of Oa. It tells you like how to make a power battery,
Mhm.
like a central power battery.
Yeah.
And that how like yeah, they apparently are really easy to explode. Like it happens all the time, which is really funny because I don't know how many times a central power battery has just been like destroyed in the comics.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice for them to acknowledge that and be like, we know it happens a lot, but they always get rebuilt, and maybe it's not as difficult as you think to rebuild one. So it looks like I don't know if this room, this big empty room, is where they're going to build a new central power battery, but it is a big empty room, and they're talking about the Starbreaker core. So we'll see how that goes.
So from the fractured spectrum issue,
Mhm.
Guy's role in that is that a while back he had been given some information that made him question the Book of Oa and its validity. He was thinking,
Yeah.
the Guardians have rewritten this at least once before that he knows about. So what's to say that they hadn't rewritten it a bunch of times previously? Like this isn't the
Yeah.
first time. So he starts looking into it and he like looks through oh man, I'm gonna forget what the item was. But he like looks through a glass.
Is this the Eye of Krona?
Yes, the Eye of Corona. He uses that and
Okay.
he sees that the Book of Oa that he is holding is actually like 6 different books that have been split and then
Okay.
into this one. And so he's being not the guy I know, but he's made crap tons of notes about all the differences between these books and what they think works and what doesn't actually work. He's being the brains for once. And it was Nate who stole the main book that this villain here is holding in his throne,
Yeah.
um, which might not be the like legitimate book. It may have been tweaked enough that maybe when they go to use this to make their power battery, it doesn't work 100% how they're expecting.
Okay.
On these pages, though, something I do like is that I know when Nate is going to visit other people, he kind of flies in and he has like this weird aura around him.
Yeah.
When he's around this guy, and I don't think it named him, but he's when he gets there, he's on his hands and knees looking up
Yeah.
to him, saying, "Please, no more pain." And then as they're walking through another area, it looks like Nate is kind of crawling, like he's not able to
Yeah.
stand up because he's overwhelmed with so much
Yeah.
sorrow
It's
and
not.
pain.
It looks painful. Like no one wants to crawl like that upstairs.
Yeah,
Uh yeah. So I wasn't super interested in Nate when this whole thing started.
same.
Uh but now I'm like way on board. He's definitely I feel compassion for him. He's a sympathetic character, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and I like that it's Hal that's going out to look for him, along with the other guys. Um, but I think that Carol will be the key to all this.
Was it this issue that Hal and Carol had a conversation about Nate? It doesn't look like it. So it
Yeah.
must have been a fractured spectrum. They had a conversation specifically about Nate where Carol was like, I understand that you're saying he stole the Book of Oa, but Nate
Mhm.
is not a bad guy. And Hal the whole time is like, I know he's not a bad guy. That's
Yeah.
why I want to be the one to go find him before like other people do, because I do know that he doesn't have bad intentions and that this what he's experiencing right now, what he's going through is not his fault. That's why I need to go and be on the lookout for him. And I think she says in Fractured Spectrum #1, this is why she can't be the one to go after him.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some of that in here
Gotcha.
earlier in the book, which is again great. But I think that ultimately this storyline, I feel like she would be key.
Oh, she has to be.
Yeah.
The reason he was feeling how he was feeling is because he was left by Carol for Hal, and they were engaged, about to be married.
Right.
So I don't think you can have a nice resolution without her being in the fold.
Yeah. These guys going to the source wall. I like the concept of the source wall. Was that New Guardians that first?
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of it myself.
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting thing, and it's a cool concept. But Hal, so I have some questions about this. Hal shows up and everybody's dead, and they've been like beaten to death. There's no laser blast or anything, so it's like really, really, really dark stuff. And we get this red light behind Hal, and I'm not familiar. Who is this character that we get?
I don't know. I don't think it's somebody we know. As I was scrolling through, I got to that panel where Hal's kind of like red all over his back, and I was like, we're about to see Atrocitus. I was so stoked.
Yeah.
But then obviously you scroll down one more panel and you do see the red. And I scrolled slowly, like I was doing like a Pokemon card unboxing or something, like trying to enjoy it. And you know, you see this like hammer type construct coming up, and I see the arm, and I'm like, then I saw the face, and I was like, who is this? It's definitely not Atrocitus, unless this is a completely original new look for him.
Yeah.
He's wearing like a kilt. They said earlier in the issue that basically because the spectrum is so messed up right now, anybody who can tap into an extreme of whatever that is, whether it's compassion or it's hope or rage in this case, they can tap into, you know, the power of a lantern. And this guy here is obviously, he feels that whatever happened, they deserved it, and that's why he killed them all.
Yeah, I have a theory. So yeah, clearly this guy's mad because he says he's mad a couple times. And he's wearing a kilt. I'm going to say that this is possibly Bofungo, because of the kilt. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Rowdy Roddy Piper played Bofungo in Green Lantern Emerald Knights.
Yeah.
And that's their homage really to him. So possibly, because clearly it's not a Red Lantern because it doesn't have a Red Lantern suit. So it could just be a part of this fractured spectrum. So that's going to be my theory. That's who that is. Because his design's changed over the years, but the gray skin and stuff, possibly. Okay, so here's the big thing right here.
Yeah,
we got Green Lantern number 20 and Green Lantern Corps number 1. I don't keep up with the solicits. So do you know what can you tell me about Green Lantern Corps?
Like he's probably this. See, I've joined you in this because previously
you're not reading.
I do not read the solicits anymore. I stopped in like October time when it was like the third or fourth time that I read a solicit for, I think we were on like Green Lantern 15 or 14, and it was telling us about Green Lantern 19 or 20 or something like that. And it was just like earlier they were like the solicits ruined the Sinestro surprise.
Right.
And it was like the third time that this has happened to me. And I told myself, I keep doing this to myself. I read the solicit and then I'm not as surprised as I should be when the actual issue gets here. So I stopped reading the solicits completely.
Okay. So this is news to me. I'm excited for a Green Lantern Corps book. It's been a while since we've had 2 main Green Lantern books. I don't know who the team is, but I'll tell you this. On this show, I will be covering both the day of. So I'll do a Green Lantern Corps show. I'll do a Green Lantern show. So I'll have at least 2 shows a month covering comics. I need to get into the other books. I'm thinking, what's the one that just came out that you said that you
Fractured Spectrum. I don't know how many of those there are going to be. I think ultimately the idea was just to lead into Green Lantern Corps.
Okay, I should probably read it then.
And I think I think Jeremy Adams has said previously that the idea behind the split was that Green Lantern would follow Hal and a select few lanterns, kind of like Kyle,
Mhm.
John going forward. And then Green Lantern Corps will start with all of them because it's the Green Lantern Corps. But as it goes on, it's going to focus way more on the lesser used lanterns and not all the main, not the core four, for instance.
Great. Like that's what Tomasi did. But
Yeah.
they started folding into each other. I'm excited about this. So whenever an issue of Green Lantern or Green Lantern Corps comes out, I'll be covering those on the show. You're more than welcome to join me anytime.
I'll be
I,
here.
dude, like, remember when it was just like the Morrison Sharp run,
Yeah.
and it was like just the one book. And for me, as much as I thought the writing was good, I thought the art was good. It was just like kind of like I wasn't excited every month like I am with this.
Yeah.
And so for me, this almost feels like we're back in like 2010 again.
This feels like good Green Lantern content.
Yeah, yeah. And with Green Lantern starting to show up and stuff, um, like this Lantern show, Guy Gardner and Superman, like I'm hoping it turns back to where Green Lantern's no longer a joke.
That
You know,
that's what I've been telling people. I think that James Gunn, I think Damon Lindelof, Chris Mundy, Tom King, I know for sure that James Gunn and Tom King are on the internet a lot.
yeah,
They absolutely have heard all the jokes about Green Lantern for years now.
yeah,
And the fact that this is in their phase one and it's one of the first things they're putting out from their phase one,
yeah,
all the signs are there for me to put my trust in them and think that they are taking this very seriously. And again, a
right,
lot of people have been kind of up in arms over some of like the little snippets we've gotten about terrestrial based in the American heartland. And they're like, how are we going to do Green Lantern stuff and stick to Earth if they're space cops? But then as more snippets have come out, they're like, it's not just going to be a city of regular people and then Hal, John, and Sinestro. This they said like the area's awash with powered creatures and powered beings. So I feel like if people just pump the brakes and give it time for official
trust the
information to
process.
come out,
Yeah,
yeah, like we don't need to know everything today. And I think if we did, people would be bummed that they knew everything before it came out, and then
that
you're not
Sinestro
seeing
reveal.
anything new anyway.
You already got the Sinestro reveal ruined in this.
Yeah, yeah, but it was really exciting
It
to
helps. It helps for you to like be like, okay, this just isn't like a 70s cop show, buddy cop show.
yeah,
You're like, no, Sinestro's in there. And if you have Sinestro, and what is great is what I read, like the synopsises that they've been putting out say that Sinestro is a former Green Lantern. Like
yes.
we're not dealing with Green Lantern Sinestro. It's not another going to be another tease of Sinestro before he's a bad guy.
Yep, we
Like
don't have to relive that. We know.
yeah,
People who
yeah,
are Lantern fans already know, and anybody who's coming in, the fact that it's mentioned, I'm sure there will be dialogue around him being a former Green Lantern. It'll get explained to newcomers while they watch the show anyway. I like this idea that we don't have to do the backstory for every
yeah.
character when we see them on the big screen or the small, whatever you want to call it. Like I don't need to
Yeah.
know Hal's backstory and Sinestro's backstory. Like, I don't need that specific movie or like in the Superman thing. He's young in his career, but it's not
His
like the very
origins.
beginning of it, a retelling of it. Like
Yeah,
I've
we
seen
know it.
Spider-Man's opening 3 times now or 4 times.
Yeah,
Every time they recast it, like every 6 years or whatever it is. Like people know. People know. And if they like
yeah.
your show enough, they're gonna buy old comics and look into it anyway.
Right, man. Fired up,
Yep,
so
but
fired up.
it's been a good time for Lantern fans.
Yeah, yeah. And if anybody has anything they want to say in the comments, go for it. We only got one in the live chat, which I'm sure you get that a lot. It says this doesn't look like the guy who slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah.
There's more
So
than one Will Smith out there.
there are. And I like to tell people this is why I try to make sure I don't get pulled over and I obey the rules of the road, because if a cop comes up knocking on the window, what's your name, son? And I say Will Smith, it's going to be a quick get out of the car. But I've
I
heard
always-
all the jokes my whole life, even back in high school when I was playing baseball. The away teams, when we would go visit them, they would see Will Smith on the player sheet, and I'd come lead off the game, so they'd be playing music. It was always either getting jiggy with it, or I'm going to Miami, or the Men in Black song. Like, you used to be able to tell teams, like, play this when I come up to hit, and then they would just take it out and put in some sort of Will Smith track. So I've heard it for forever.
I love putting your name in the show title.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I'll get a Fresh Prince fan.
Yeah. Somebody
come
who
in and
just doing a quick little search on the YouTube. It says Will Smith
Yeah.
videos, and then this pops up. You never know. You had to
Never
broaden
know.
your audience.
Which, by the way, I just want to say, like, for some reason, my third Saturday cartoons is just like skyrocketed. The viewership skyrocketed. I don't know why, but also the Guy Gardner episode, the day that the Superman trailer, like that one is going well too. So I'd like to thank anybody who came around for that. Look forward to more of that stuff. Like, as soon as we get like set leaks and stuff, like photos I'll look at, because I need to know what the suits look like.
That's what I said too.
Yeah, so I'll be all over that. Story stuff I don't necessarily need to know, but if I see that dude as Sinestro, like in the paint, like his face, I can picture it.
Yeah,
I think it's good casting. I've only seen him in one thing, which is The World Is Not Enough, which was 1999. It was like 26 years ago or something. And I haven't. He is a bit part in it, so I don't know. But I mean, dude, I trust these guys. The casting seems to be great.
Yeah.
If you hear anything about them shooting at a specific location, I'm in Southern California, and I hear they're shooting here. So
I think
did
they
move to
were.
Atlanta?
I think they literally said. Well, I think they said like they were shooting in Los Angeles.
They're probably shooting the screen test at the Warner Brothers Studios.
Yeah, which would make sense. Yeah. So the Instagram post from Garrett Dillahunt was camera test day, and then he had a second one where he's further back and he makes it black and white, and it says "Let's go LA." And the other names on the chairs was Kelly McDonald, Garrett Dillahunt, and Kyle Chandler that were there that day.
Okay, so that wouldn't be
Just screen
like
testing.
Green Lantern stuff. That would be Heartland. It's screen tests, so I'm assuming it's costume tests.
Yeah, that just
they
testing
do
different
like
lighting and different technology
yeah.
that they have to see if they want to use it, if it makes sense with this group and all that. Yeah.
And with the little Guy Gardner footage we saw, I love the construct. I love the way it looks and the way it's designed in Superman. I think it's the best live action construct. I didn't really care for the constructs in the Green Lantern movie. They looked weirdly dark.
I'm trying to remember Stargirl.
I
know
was kind
Jade
of also dark.
Used the ring, but I'm trying to remember if she just kind of shot it beam-like or if she made constructs with it. That might be a rewatch I do this weekend. The other piece of homework I have is the gentleman who's been cast as Sinestro. Everybody has told me over the past couple days I need to check out Banshee, because it's both him and Anthony Starr, Homelander from The Boys, are like the two main characters in that show. So, and but they also said, because they know that I have a daughter, they said don't watch it with her.
Right. Man, it's exciting. I'm fired up. You're gonna get the news before I do, because I get my news from you. Let everybody know where to find you. I mean, I might start doing YouTube shorts. I'm getting really excited about this stuff.
Oh, I like shorts, and they just extended them to 3 minutes.
Oh, cool. Yeah. But I mean, I'll do full shows too. Like that Guy Gardner one was like, I was ready to go at like 5 a.m. over here when that trailer dropped. Like I had my artwork ready and I was like ready to go live. So if any news drops that's like crazy, I'll be on here. But for you, let everyone know where to find you, and they can get news even quicker.
Yeah, basically, I'm bailing on all social media except for Blue Sky and YouTube. So you can find me if you go to Blue Sky. I made it real easy. Just do @greenlanternspodcast.com, and I'll be the one that pops up. Just like this gentleman over here is at Lanterns Live, and it'll come up right away.
Yeah. And again, thanks for plugging this episode on your most recent episode.
Yeah.
I listened to it and I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. We get to talk about Green Lantern soon. Like, you reminded me, like, oh yeah, new issue of Green Lantern.
I feel like you do a good job of promoting your stuff and making sure you got posts that go out and reminding people when you're going to be. I always just say I'll catch you on the next one, but it's never like, I don't know if I'm filming the next day or doing a video the next day, but I was like, I knew this was coming up.
Yeah.
And I've been
I'm
on here
getting to
enough.
that point though, with like, whenever anything comes up, like if the minute we get any sort of blurry image of Sinestro or Kyle Chandler, like, even if he's just in the leather jacket.
Yeah.
And we all know what Kyle Chandler looks like, but if we get anything, like, I'll do a whole like 20-minute episode on one set photo. so like,
hey, if you needed somebody else on, I'll be more than happy to join as well.
I'll send you the studio link.
Yeah.
But man, dude, like, this is the time. This is the time to be a Green Lantern fan. Thanks for everybody for showing up. Universe Man says it's not going to be CGI heavy. I don't know if that's been news, but I think Lanterns, I mean, who knows? I have a feeling they're going to figure out a practical suit. We're not going to get a CG suit.
I agree. Because it's just a good way to save budget, and then you can do more stuff with constructs later if you're not having to 24/7 CGI the suits on them.
Yeah. All right, dude. I will be back whenever I'm back. I'm thinking of doing for February, possibly doing a Far Sector reread, maybe do a Far Sector thing. I might do a watch of Beware My Power, one that I should probably maybe just give it a second watch and give my thoughts on. I think both of those would be good for History Month. But we'll see. I think Far Sector is like one of the best Green Lantern stories of the last decade.
It's very well written. Yeah.
And the art is phenomenal. So look forward to that. And then I don't know when I'll see everybody next, but as soon as news drops, I'm jumping on here for Lanterns Live. So come join me. Come follow me on Blue Sky at lanternslive.com. I did the verify. Like, that's how you verify. Yeah. I like how it looks, and it drives me nuts because DC Comics is on there now, and I think theirs is at dc.com.
Yes. Yeah, so, I just looked it up after you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, so it's like, great. Now I don't have to go to Instagram to get that news. James Gunn's on there. So yeah, dude, man, can't wait to talk again.
Yeah. Thanks
for joining me. Everybody in the audience, thanks for joining me. And until next time, I forgot to do all this stuff. Oh yeah, it's up here. StreamYard moves some stuff around. But anyway, I'm going to say this. Beware My Podcast. It's Lanterns Live. Bye.